All right, we're about to start our presentation. First, I just wanted to welcome you to our first Zoom series of kind of tutorials for this group. My name is Fred, and with me today is Cliff, and we're gonna go ahead and start the presentation. So the purpose of this presentation is we want to make sure that we assist the dance teachers and music teachers, and the ones that specifically for this presentation, the ones that are using Zoom for their classes. The title is Optimizing Zoom Audio Settings for Dance and Music Online Classes when using your computer. I'm going to be your host, and Cliff is going to be presenting. So if anytime you have any questions during this presentation, you can go to slides.app.goo.gl/J9DFV, and Cliff will go ahead and answer the questions later on during the Q&A.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Fred. All right, so let's go ahead and start here. All right, so first, the agenda, what we're going to be discussing here today. So first, we're going to do a quick introduction of our backgrounds, Fred and I's backgrounds, and how we can help you through this process here. We're going to go over the default settings that Zoom has for their audio, why they chose it, and you know what their intentions are when they actually built the audio features. Right? And then we're also going to show you how to update your account settings to better reflect what we actually do as dancers or music instructors, and as well as updating the Zoom client software. So there's two things that two areas that we have to change. One is through your account, through a your web account, and then the other is through the Zoom client software itself. Right. Then we're just going to go over some preparation tips before you actually start your class, all the technical things that you want to kind of go over before your class actually starts. And unfortunately, your students do have to do some certain things to better their chances at the audio experience of it all. All right. And then let's see. And then some additional tips when actually class starts and how to go about conducting your class itself. And then at the end, we'll go ahead and take some Q&A. Again, Fred, as Fred mentioned, please ask your questions at the above link. You should be able to see the actual link above actually to type in your questions, and you can vote it up so that I can see it first among others. But I'll also take questions during the demo. So at each stage of this process, we're gonna demo it for you, and at that point, I'll go ahead and take some questions as well. All right. All right. So, quick introduction. All right. First, we have Fred here, and go ahead, Fred.
So my background is in radio, television, and communications and education technology from San Francisco State and Boise State University. Currently, I'm the digital media manager at Stanford Center for Professional Development, where we work with the online learning for the entire university. I've been involved in the freestyle dance community since early 90s, and now I am a community organizer for Bay Area youth in the freestyle dance scene. And I guess I'm going to introduce Cliff too. So our presenter, Cliff Kabute, as you may know him. Cliff has 20 years in the dance industry. He's currently one of the instructors and one of my daughter's instructors at the Get Down. His experience in technical support and web trafficking at Symantec, and he is an avid DJ and audio engineer enthusiast, among other things. Right, Cliff?
Yeah, a little too many things sometimes. All right, cool. Thanks, Fred. Appreciate that. All right, so first on the agenda, again, we're going to talk about Zoom's default audio settings, and actually why they chose these, right? So Zoom obviously is a video conferencing software, but its intentions were actually based, and their customer base, or their main customer base, I should say, is made for businesses and universities. Right. So with that in mind, they're going to use Zoom mainly for meetings, webinars, and even, instructional class education, streaming. Right. And so with that in mind, their actual um, intentions are, or their audio settings are intended to enhance the speech of the presenter or the instructor. Okay, so their intentions aren't really to have music in the background or anything, and so a lot of these settings that we'll go over are to block out background noise or anything distracting other than the presenter's own voice. Okay, because that's the one that people want to hear the most, is whoever's presenting, just like how we are here. All right, so we'll go over these settings, and we're going to update them all. All right, and the first one, again, there's a two areas that we need to update these settings. One is going to be within your Zoom account itself via a web browser or your website. So you're going to log into your account and your website, and the actual setting that we're going to change here, there's only one, is to allow users to select the original sound in the client settings. Okay, and the client settings is basically the client software, which is the Zoom software that you'll be using. Okay, so this just enables an option. Okay, not necessarily enables it on the client side, but it's going to enable the option for each viewer to be able to see this option or this button that they can click or turn on and turn off. Okay, so what is the original sound? The original sound is basically what the original sound is coming through the microphone. Okay, whether it's the presenter or anyone else that's trying to speak into the microphone, it's the original sound that is going into it without any filtrations, without any processing. I wouldn't say processing per se, but more of just like any kind of filtration that Zoom is trying to enhance for the presenter. So when people enable this option and they turn it on saying that I do want the original sound, that's what they want here. It's basically what your hearers would normally hear, right? The original sound. All right. Okay, so let's demo this part, because again, it's just a single setting that we're gonna do here. So let me minimize this screen here, and of course I'll take questions. We have Jason on, and
we have Wacko with us too.
Wacko
So if anybody has questions right now, hey Wacko.
Yo.
All right. So yeah, if you have any questions while we're doing this demo, I'll go ahead and take them as we're doing this. But let me bring up my web browser here. This thing is a little funky. Okay. So again, you want to log into the Zoom account. Obviously, oops, wrong one. I got too many Gmail accounts, man. Oh, that was a different one.
Get down with Cliff.
I know, there's Get Down Dance Studios too, and man, there's too many. All right, here we go. All right, so once you get logged in here, you actually are taken to this general area to be able to set up meetings and whatnot, even to your settings. So off here to the left, you want to click on Settings, and then under Meeting, you want to go over here to the Advanced in-Meeting Settings. Right? And then from here, unfortunately, you're going to have to, because this is kind of a big section, you do have to scroll a little bit further down, and here you'll see this section. Allow users to select original sound in their client settings. And you want to make sure it's enabled. So I already have it enabled because I'm already trying to conduct my classes. But yeah, so this is one that is by default, all right, it's unchecked or enabled or disabled, I'm sorry. So you do want to go into your account and enable it. All right. Once you enable it, you do want to sign out of your account as well as your client software. So unfortunately, because we're using Zoom here, I'm not going to be able to show you on the actual Zoom signing in and out, but you do want to sign out of your actual Zoom software account as well, and then you can sign back in, and that option should now be enabled. All right. Okay. So if there's no further questions, that's again for some of you that just joined, that's the first setting that you want to change. Okay, before you touch anything else. All right. Okay, so let's get back here to this thing. All right, so moving on. Okay, now we're going to go over to the actual Zoom settings on the software side. All right, and we're going to go through what they are, why they do it, the pros and cons to it all, and how to move forward with it. All right, so the first one is to disable auto microphone volume. Okay, so Zoom has this option where it says to automatically adjust the microphone volume. Well, when we're conducting class, you have a lot of different sounds going on. You have your music in the background. You might be in a big room, so you'll have a lot of echo. Here I have a dog, so dogs might be barking, and I live in an apartment complex. A lot of things are going on, and what they're trying to do here is they're trying to normalize all those volumes. So Zoom's intentions is to raise or lower all of that, depending on how you speak. So whether you're speaking softly or loudly, it's trying to normalize that, and it's doing that so that, again, Zoom's intentions are for presenters. So you want to be able to hear your presenter as well, as best as you can on the viewing side, right? So in short, whether you're speaking soft or if I'm speaking even louder, unfortunately my settings are a little different right now, but regardless of that, by having this option enabled, and again, this option is actually enabled by default. Okay, so by oops, what did I do here? Oh, what's going on? Okay, so by this defaulted and it's checked off by default, it's trying to, again, normalize all of that so that you're not blowing your viewers' ears out or anything, and they can actually hear you if you're talking too softly. We want to disable this option for automatic adjustment volume, microphone volume, right? Because again, with music in the background and us trying to speak over it, the algorithm just doesn't know what to do, and both are equally loud or soft, one softer than the other, and it's a constant fight between the both. And again, it can cause just a fluctuation of the volume constantly going up and down, and some people actually experience this where it's actually cutting in and out. I don't think it would cut it in and out just by this option. There are other options that we'll discuss in a minute, but this could be one of the factors. I do know that this definitely is one that actually where people can the volume just keeps going up and down, up and down, up and down. All right, especially if you're in a large room. So if you're in a large room trying to play music on it, it does happen a lot. Okay, so a lot of these settings, as we move on here, they're always going to be dependent on your personal environment. Like, where are you teaching? And that's the big factor. Oh, my secondary screen is getting jacked. Okay, so second option, what we want to do is disabling the actual audio processing. Okay, there's there's a few features here in the settings. We'll talk about a few other ones here, but the main one is these audio processing features. Okay, we'll talk about this one later down the road when I demo it. But these are the ones that we want to talk about now, which is disabling mainly all these suppressor filters. All right, so what was Zoom's intentions by this? Just like what these settings say, is suppressing background noise. So it's really just trying to knock it out or take it out of the equation, because again, we want to hear, or in most Zoom business cases, you just want to hear the presenter, Right? You don't want to hear any dogs barking, like in my case, or I even have the TV on kind of loud in the background just to kind of support the case where I actually have these options enabled right now. And there's different settings for it, but it's just because I have a TV going on in the background, and I'm guessing, I can't tell, but I'm guessing you guys can't hear it right now. So that's what it's trying to do. Again, we don't, for those business cases, you just want to hear the presenter, not anything happening in the background. Right? Now, why is that a problem for us? Well, we play music in the background, right? So obviously the algorithm is going to try to knock that music out, right? And again, it's kind of more dependent also on, how your voice matches to the music. So if you're not even speaking at all, and the microphone, and you have these options actually enabled to suppress the background noise, but the only thing that's happening in as far as audio is concerned is your music, then obviously it thinks that's the dominant part or the dominant sound that's coming in. So it's not going to suppress it. But once you start speaking, and if you speak more loud than the music itself, then that's where you're going to start getting the cutting in and out. Right? It's going to be like, well, let me cut that background noise out. Oh, wait a minute. Now the music's louder because it hit a bass note or a hi-hat note where it's really loud and it takes over your voice. So that's why this option keeps fluctuating, and it's going to keep cutting your music in and out, or even your voice in and out, or just the audio in general. It's going to constantly just be cutting it in and out, especially because the default settings are set to auto. Now we can kind of play around with it because there's other options like moderate, aggressive, auto, all kinds of different ways to suppress the background noise. But in general, for our purposes, it's best to actually disable it altogether. All right. Okay. So, lastly, one of the things that most of us have tried at first, just to get the better sound to our viewers, is sharing the computer audio. Okay. This is a setting that a lot of us use, and when we enabled it and listened, we were like, oh man, this, the music sounds great now. It doesn't sound all wobbly or, like it's, coming in from the bathroom or something. And it sounds great, but Zoom's intentions were kind of more for just business short videos. Like they want to show a commercial that they made, or there's a quick, short video of a meme or whatever it may be, right? But just mainly meant for business cases, or, user interface people use it a lot for like, hey, this is the sound we're going to play when you click on this button or something. So it's just really for short video or audio cases, right? Okay. What's bad about it for us? It causes a desync. All right. Now this is more on a technical side of things. So just know that this is probably the main reason why, and there could be a lot of factors that go along with this. But it causes desyncs, right? And desyncs is one of the major ones on our Facebook group. What people are experiencing problems with, right? It's because that over time, right, in progression of everything, or with video and audio, Zoom actually processes the video and audio coming in from your webcam separate from the video and audio coming in from what we're doing now, which is sharing my screen. So if I was sharing my screen, which is also sharing the computer sound, that's being processed separately from the video and audio feed coming from my webcam or whatever else I'm using. All right, so they're two separate processes. All right, they don't combine it into one stream and then push it out. It's pushed out separately on two different stream channels over the web. All right, and that's what causes the desync, because video processing is much more intensive and has a lot more data than screen sharing and audio. I mean, audio files are what? Real short. Movie files are really huge, right? Like everybody knows when you download these songs versus downloading a movie, a lot of data being used, right? So video, with that in mind, any hiccup to your internet speeds or internet connections, and it's not just yours. Yours is you being the host or the instructor is going to be the most concerned, but it's also dependent on your viewers. If they have a bad connection, then they get a hiccup and they get the lag and drop frames. So because of any hiccup in the drop and drop frames of the video, whether it's yours being the instructor or your viewers, once that drop frame comes into play, then the audio is already past it. So as yours gets drop frames, it gets lower and lower or behind and behind, the audio keeps going in real time, and that's where the desync happens. And that's why, when we run class, it doesn't look like we're dancing on beat. Or if we're running a music class, when we're strumming or stringing or hitting the keys or buttons or whatever, it's never looking like it's on time. Right? So desync issues, just don't use share computer audio. Right? There's other methods, and we'll go through these things a little bit better. But for the again, I forgot what thing when we started this all, but these intentions are mainly going to be due for everything that you use, whether it's external gear or just your laptop itself. But if you're just using your laptop itself, or these are going to be your best options to be able to knock out any of those problems. All right. Okay. Moving on. Let's demo it. So if you guys have questions, go ahead and ask them as I'm trying to demo this. Let's see here. So again, we're just going to demo these settings and how to...
Hey, Waka, you had a question?
Yeah, Cliff, can you hear me, bro?
Yeah. Yep, I can hear.
Yeah. So I obviously teach. And my issue, I've experienced both. I think the first time I tried doing Zoom with my studio, I didn't share my audio, and I was basically using like a Bluetooth like speaker, and I had to literally put it next to like my laptop. But then we were kind of told now to try sharing it, and most of my students they say the same thing, like the music sounds better, but on my end, I notice when I'm showing like say like a small like choreo or whatever or step, everything's out of sync. So I'm just like I mean I'm definitely feeling everything you're saying right now, and I'm looking forward to the other options I might have. But for moving forward, I shouldn't be sharing my audio from my laptop, correct?
Right. Unfortunately, that's what causes the whole desync issue is when you do that. Like I said, the sound sounds great. It's awesome to hear the sound exactly how it's supposed to be, or the music as exactly how it's supposed to be. But yeah, it's the desync issues. So if you're just able to use your laptop, and I'm going to give you some other options aside from this actual meeting.
Okay.
On what you can do. Can I ask you first? Are you using a Mac or a Windows laptop?
I'm using a Mac.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because no, it's cool. I'm on a Mac too, man. So it's all good.
Yeah.
But the free option, the one that's totally free and that you can run music perfectly with microphone, or if you're with a microphone or without, is actually. I'm still looking.
You cut out. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's all Windows based, so you'd actually need a Windows machine to do the free version. There's a way to do it on a Mac, but unfortunately, even without buying any extra gear, it's just that the software that you'd need for it, I can't find any free ones. It's all paid.
Hey,
stuff.
Cliff.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
So Waka, what I was gonna say is, I mean, Cliff probably agrees with this. So let's say you were just doing a private lesson with me, right? If you do a private lesson with me and we don't have to do choreo and it doesn't have to be in sync, the way you're doing it with your share audio, it could work because you don't have to see me do it exactly the same time you're doing it. But it's a matter of like having 5 to 10 students. It just doesn't work.
Yeah, I mean, even currently right now, how I'm like, since I've been using Zoom, it's caused me to reteach how I like teach. So I'll do like say like a couple top rock steps and then stop and then just play my music and then point and tell my students to do it. And that's kind of how I'm doing it right now.
Oh, so that's how you did it this week, because we weren't there this week, but for the previous weeks, I noticed that everyone was able to keep up because you were just using the Bluetooth speaker. So that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like the week I did it with the Bluetooth, it looked like everyone was able to keep up better. But then now that I'm running it through my laptop, I'm seeing lag, and I'm not sure if people, are keeping up.
Yeah,
So, I mean, you don't have to do it at the same time, but I'll just sit and watch. So.
Yeah, I think what Cliff is showing you right now is going to definitely help. But the hard thing is now you're going to have to kind of like show the studio this type of stuff. But we'll post this, for later use.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks,
Cool.
guys.
Yeah, man. So just one more tip for you, Marco, too, is that, unfortunately you won't have to do, you can't use the share audio method, or share your computer audio method. You're going to have to go back to just, regular mic on your laptop and the speaker, whether it's your Bluetooth speaker or just the speaker kind of close to the laptop. Here's a recommendation, and I was going to go through this at the end, but we'll discuss it just briefly here, and I'll explain a little bit further when we get through the slide deck here. But it's just a matter of maintaining a constant volume of your voice and the music. So it's all about positioning. How far are you standing? How far are the speakers? All relating to the microphone, right? So that's where you're going to have to play around with it a little bit. Like, can I talk over the music? Will they be able to hear me? Does the music suck and it sounds horrible if it's too far away? Let me put it closer. Okay, maybe I should be closer. So it's all that environment. It's whether it's better to do it in a big room or a small room. There's a lot of use cases, but again, maybe we'll do a one-on-one session with you to kind of better help your area, and we'll.
Yeah, I don't want to hold you up. Keep going.
Sure. Okay. Yep. No problem. Okay. So, all right. Back to the settings here. Again, we're changing all the settings for the client software side. Right. So on the client, once you get to the settings, and unfortunately, because we are using Zoom, this is the only screen that I can show you, not how to get to these settings. But once you get to the settings, there's a couple areas where you can actually do it too. I think if you click on your icon, your My Account icon, and then the preferences are there, and it might be different for Windows too. Like there might be different areas. But there's multiple ways to get to the settings. So once you get into the settings here, make sure you go to the audio tab. And the first one here is again, automatically adjust microphone volume. And because I'm using an actual external microphone, I actually disable this as well. All right. So, but for our purposes, you want to make sure that you do disable it altogether. All right. And let's go here. You're going to want to click on this advanced section down at the bottom, and you get to the second settings here. Okay. The audio processing. So again, right now I have them set to moderate because I'm trying to block out the TV noise, the dog barking. I live in an apartment complex, and so there's people walking by, and there's wind going through my windows. So I have it actually set. But you do want to disable this. So there's all these other settings here, right? So if I disable them, you might be able to hear more of like areas. But I am using, an actual high-end microphone, so it might actually knock out a lot of that background noise too. But disable them, all right? And that way you can just get the original sound going through the microphone as it's intended. All right. I'm going to go ahead and change these back to moderate though. But again, make sure those are disabled. Unfortunately, we can't disable echo cancellation, but in some cases, that's a good thing. We kind of actually do. At a later time, if you guys have a question on what echo cancellation is, you can ask me or Fred, and we can talk to you more about that. The other thing, though, what was in the slide deck, but I didn't really talk about, is back when we changed our account setting, when we logged in through your Zoom account on a web browser, we enabled that option for the original sound. Well, there's an option here too that you need to actually check. And by default, it's unchecked. So you want to check this one so that your viewers can now see the option to enable it. So in your web account itself on Zoom's website, you check that so that this option actually, I think, appears. Okay, I don't think it appears by default. So once it appears, you want to go ahead and enable it so that your viewers can now choose the option to hear the original sound from the microphone. All right. Okay. So those should be the settings. Once you enable all that, you should be set. Now, again, you might need to change these depending on what you're using Zoom for, but for classes, this is the way that you want to go. Disabled, not moderate, because I'm just using moderate now. Disable both of the suppressors, keep this on auto, and make sure this is checked. Okay. And going back one screen, again, make sure automatically adjust microphone volume is unchecked. All right, cool. All right. Getting a little short on time here, but hopefully we can get through these slide decks pretty quickly. Uh-oh, where did it go? There it is. Kind of moving these all over the place. Okay, so moving on. Okay, now that we have all the settings done, all right, some kind of like a checklist before your class begins. All right, first off, all right, check your internet speeds. It's always a good deal. I always try to go to my class or wherever I need to be, whether it's home or at the studio, whatever. I try to make sure that before every session that I do, I check my internet speeds. Unfortunately, not all of us have the greatest of speeds. This is my home speeds. You can see that I have pretty high download and a pretty good upload speeds already. But a few things to help if you don't have great internet speeds is try to connect via an Ethernet cable. I know a lot of us don't always have that option or the freedom to do that. Most of us don't even carry around Ethernet cables. It's just not a thing anymore, right? And a lot of us use Wi-Fi. But, you just better your chances of a stable connection. It's not necessarily about speed at this point. It's more about a stable connection so that you don't have any hiccups down the line and, any kind of, wireless interference. A lot of things can go interfere with your Wi-Fi. Like if the microwave goes on, there's a lot of radiation coming through there, and it could interrupt your Wi-Fi connection. So again, there's a ton of things that can actually, a plane going over your house, same thing. There's a lot of wireless communications being transmitted to there that can affect your Wi-Fi connection, unfortunately. So I live by an airport, so there's a lot of interference over here too. Cell phone towers all can have a hiccup into your actual connection. Again, not necessarily the speed, it's the connection being made to the World Wide Web. All right. So if you can, try to use an Ethernet cable. If not, it's fine. You may have hiccups, but doing it this way, if the hiccup happens, the hiccup happens to both your video and audio, so you'll still stay in sync. You just might have a stutter in the video feed itself. All right, that's all it will be. But for the most part, you should have a stable connection throughout. All right. Okay. The next is use this site. There's other sites to run speed tests for your internet connection, but the easiest one and the most common one people use is speedtest.net. Great one, not really biased, I don't think, at least. Xfinity, Comcast has their own. I think they're biased. That's just my opinion, but most people use speedtest.net. Right. And here's what you're going for. Now, these speeds are more for gamers, right? Game streamers, like Twitch streamers and stuff. And these are like the bare minimal, like, you're not going to get great quality, but this is the bare minimal. And their quality of stream is way better than Zoom, even their bare minimal, right? Their stream it's very intensive internet speeds that they need, but these are the bare minimal that they need, and it's actually not that much considering internet speeds these days on what most of us use. Our phones actually blow these numbers away already. So if you want to use your cell phone connection and to have these speeds, do it. It'll work. All right, but again, these are the speeds: 5 to 8 megabytes per second downloads. You could see on mine at home, I'm at 425, so I got no problem at all. And upload speeds of at least 2.5 megabytes per second and above, and that's upload. I'm at 17, 18 here. The get down has actually it fluctuates. Some days it's good, some days it's bad, but they're usually around the 2.5 megabytes. There are times that it dips below that for upload speeds, but it works, for the most part. You might not get the greatest video quality. It might be a little more degraded, but they can still see you, and the audio is still great. Right? And again, download speeds, it's more about what kind of video feed are you seeing from everybody else, and that has an effect to the overall performance of your internet speeds. Right? So that's why you want about 5 to 8 megabytes. Streamers, they're actually looking for more, but they can make it work with these speeds. Right? Okay, moving on. Next, after you check your internet speeds, double check your settings. Again, if you use Zoom for any other purposes, chatting with friends, doing game night with people, you might have changed some of your audio settings. If you use a USB mic one day and you use your laptop mic the next day, you might have changed settings. So it's just good measure. Just double check your settings. All right. Okay. Some pre-class tip rules for students. Okay, so after you check yours, let's say you've done all these pre-checks before you start class. Okay, let's start the Zoom session. Start the Zoom session. Excuse me. Students are rolling in. All right, what's the first thing that you want to do? Give them some preparation. All right, kind of talk about them. Welcome to the class. Let's talk a little bit about you're new to this online class. Let me kind of give you some guidelines and some rules. All right. So this is one option that I think nobody is really doing just yet. And in fact, I'm going to be doing this for the first time also for my class today, is to turn on the original sound. Right. So it's unfortunate that there's no way for us to globally have this on for everyone. It's a feature that maybe because Fred has like gold or platinum support with Zoom due to his Stanford connections. He might be able to.
Don't hate.
So he might be able to put in a request to actually have this done, but it's unfortunate that every student should do this. And again, the reason why is going back to a few slides back, that they want to hear the original sound. They want to hear the original sound that's coming from the microphone with no suppressions, even on their end. So if they have some kind of suppression, software or whatever, it's going to be active on their end too. So by enabling this, they just take everything out of the equation and they just hear the sound coming from your microphone, period. No suppressions, no filters, nothing. All right. So they have to turn this feature on. Now, here's the confusing part. What they see on their screen, it's going to be on their video screen. And unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to demo this because, again, we're using Zoom to do this session. But up on their screen, on the video screen, so when they see your video, I think it's your video, or even theirs. So right when they start Zoom, if they see their video or your video, they want to do this. All right. It's going to, by default, it's going to say turn on original sound. That means the feature is off. So when they click on it to essentially turn it on, they will then see turn off original sound. So they just have to make sure that it says turn off original sound, because that means that it is on. All right. Hopefully that's not a little too confusing there. But as long as they see that, this feature is on. Okay. So a little confusing. Just you just need to kind of, well, what I'll probably do to my students today is just say, hey, what does it say on your screen? Does it say turn on or turn off? Make sure it says turn off. All right, that means it's on. Hopefully that'll work for them today, but we'll try it out. Okay, mute and unmute. Okay, this is kind of, again, best practices. Again, this is what you're trying to tell your students in the beginning of class before you actually start class. You could mute and unmute them all being the host too. So, but depending on how you conduct your class, again, this could be for dance classes or even music classes, different case scenarios. So just tell them, if you're, try to stay on mute as much as possible unless you have a question. Again, that's how I conduct my classes for dance classes. Music classes, I've done like 1 or 2 so far. It's different. I want to be able to hear them at all times. So, we go back and forth with muting and unmuting, right? But if they have a question, they can unmute themselves, and then once they don't have a question, go back to the class. It's best practice just to mute them, or if you have time, and sometimes you don't because you're actually dancing, right? You're gonna you can have that option to just mute. So just knowing your controls, mute and unmute when necessary, right? And then what we always do is we always tell the instructors is tell your students to pin your video, being the instructor or the presenter, and just make sure that you pin it. Okay, and basically pinning prevents the video window from jumping between whoever's speaking or whatever sounds are going off. So whatever by default, whoever's speaking or whatever microphone is active, the video feed will jump to that person. Okay, so it's best to just have the instructor's video, being a student, pinned at all times, so that they can just see you, and then all the smaller windows will be the rest of the students. Okay, as instructors too, kind of depends whether you want to do that or not. I actually just go in full gallery view so I can see all the students equally. Some people, they like seeing themselves on video, so they pin themselves. All right, all preference. All right, moving on. Unfortunately, again, I thought I was going to be able to demo this, but unfortunately not, because a lot of those features are being a Zoom client itself. I won't be able to demo this. If you need help, just come to our Facebook group on where it goes. We'll take screenshots, or we'll do a share screen session of somehow, or do it through I'll even use it on my phone and just be like, hey, is it this one? So we'll go to our Facebook group. We'll help you out. All right, we'll do a one-on-one sessions with people that need it. All right, let's just move on. Unfortunately, I won't demo. Actually, before I move on, any last questions? We're almost done. So we got one more section, and then we're pretty much there.
Hey, Cliff.
Yeah, what's up, Wicko?
When I joined the Zoom, it said it was being recorded. Is there a way to watch this after this is over?
Yeah, it's just that the recording takes a little time to be processed. So, but it is being processed. It is being recorded. We'll post it along with a blog article that I'll write, so that you don't have to necessarily skim through this video. You can also, like, if you're just looking for the settings, I'll have an article so that all you have to do is just look at some pictures on where to go, and then you can follow it quickly that way. So there'll be multiple: video, an article, and then if you need help, you can always contact us too. Right.
Okay, awesome.
Cool.
Thank you.
Yep, no problem. All right, so just our last section here. When you're conducting your class, all right, there's a few things to just kind of watch out for here. One thing that we do also at the Get Down is remove the lobby. So once class starts, right, I think with one of the newest updates from Zoom that just happened a few days ago, they enabled lobby by default, so you have to go into a lobby.
On your end, Cliff, is it called lobby or is it waiting room? Because on mine, it's waiting room.
It's in different areas. So in settings, it says lobby.
That's weird.
When you go to like certain areas, it says waiting room. So it's different, unfortunately.
Yeah, we have at City Dance, it's waiting room.
Okay, nice. Yeah. So I believe it's on the web account settings. It talks about lobby in there.
So, Wacko, does City Dance force no, I don't mean force, but is it automatic? I know Ginny is like the administrator over there, right, for the Zoom sessions?
Yeah.
Does she wait until everybody's there, or does she disable the waiting room and allow people to enter right away after the class starts?
For right now, because I experienced this yesterday because I taught a workshop a couple of days ago. She actually becomes the host, and when people sign up, they wait in the waiting room. And then once like class is gone, she'll admit them, so I can just focus on teaching. But when I'm by myself,
Right.
I have to do both. Like today and tomorrow, I'm doing a Zoom, and I'm probably gonna have to do that. So that's why I'm kind of looking forward to what Cliff's gonna say about this lobby thing.
Right. You know what? You can disable that right when the one person enters. Go into the participants tab on the bottom, and then you can already just say, "Hey, everybody goes directly into the session." You don't have to. You can basically disable the waiting room.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Wacko, where you find that is again what Fred said is it's in the participants window of your Zoom software. Once you go there, it's not really apparent where to go. You should see at the bottom of that participants window, mute everyone, unmute everyone, and then there's like these 3 buttons for more.
Yeah.
Once you click on that 3 buttons for more, in that section, there's a drop down where a bunch of selections are. One of them is gonna say remove waiting room or remove
Enable
lobby or something.
So yeah, it'll
Okay.
be
Is that
enable
what it is?
waiting room and a check, and then you can uncheck it.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So uncheck
Yeah.
it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So once you start class, I advise you to just go ahead and do that first before you even begin class. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Cool. All right. So, other than removing that, because again, you don't want people stuck in the waiting room when you're already doing class, right? Kind of sucks for them to be waiting until you take your next break before you can let them in. So again, just remove the lobby right before you start your instructions of class. And then lastly, know your controls, right? You can see this guy, the picture, this is a lighting and sound engineer for a theater show. And you can see this, I guarantee you this guy knows every single control on that board, and what it does and how to work it, and he could probably do this blindly. So it's, we don't need to know that much, but at the end of the day, time is precious, right? We don't want to be fiddling with our computers while we're trying to instruct class, So maybe take a few minutes of time to practice Zoom and find out what short keys are and how you can benefit from that to make your class seem more, streamlined, right? It's just like when we're teaching with the students in a real class environment, we're not doing all this kind of stuff. So we shouldn't be doing it during a online Zoom class either. So the better that we are in knowing our controls, the better that we save time, the better experience your students have, and everything just starts running like they were actually in a real class, right? Rather than for waiting for us to do things all the time. So time is precious. Know your controls. Use short keys if possible, right? There's an area in Zoom that you can go to in the settings to find out what each short key is and how you can use it, right? And again, multitask if you can. If you need to take a break, I know I do for Top Rock all the time. I'm sweating my ass off, and then I'm like, dude, I need to take a drink of water. As I'm taking a drink of water, I'm already loading up the next song, right? I'm not gonna wait till we come back or everybody comes back to then try to find a song. I'm already trying to find a song while I'm taking my break and taking a quick drink of water. Or maybe I'm just talking to them, right? I'll talk to them and ask, hey, how was you guys' day? Just kind of be more interactive with them and everything as you're taking your break. Again, multitasking just to get that experience for your students all there. All right. So last, any other questions? Actually, before I take any last questions here, Wacko, Jay, you too, Jay. So there are going to be other alternatives. I know that a lot of us don't have a budget. I don't have a budget, right? I can't buy stuff. There's a lot of stuff that I would like to buy. I'm making do with what we have, and that's what we're all trying to do. Trying to make do with what we have. But there are, like I said, there are going to be some other options that we're going to start posting also. The next one after this, again, what we went through is the basics. If you're just using your laptop alone as is, this is going to get you the best experience as possible, right? The next one is, again, the free version, but you do need a Windows computer. There's different ways to get that set up, depending if you have what version of a Mac you have. You'll be able to run Windows on it. I can help people set that up too. and how to use Boot Camp to put Windows on your computer, and then being able to do this free version. But basically, it's going to be where when you use Windows, instead of a physical mixer, it's going to be what's called a virtual audio mixer. So you can do all the same things as a physical USB mixer that we first recommended to buy and do. Even though that's a better way of doing it, you do want to use a physical mixer. This virtual software audio mixer does the same exact thing. You can reroute all your audio, and instead of it being done through that shared computer audio method, it'll be done all through the virtual audio mixer.
Hey Siri, open
and
flashlight.
go through that way. All right. Fred needs a flashlight there, huh? Okay. So if you have a Mac, you just have to go an extra step in installing Windows on a Mac. If you have a Windows machine, there's going to be a free version coming to you pretty soon. All right. There's also some other methods I'm researching right now. Not really ideal. There's a lot of tech involved into it that you have to kind of do, but there might be other viable options as well. But again, like I said, the method that we showed you here today is the best method if you're just using your laptop. Okay, mobile devices, a little different story. Unfortunately, you don't have a lot of these settings and features, but I'll write up another article for just mobile users or tablet users and the best ways of going about it that way as well. All right. So any other questions? Wacko, Jason?
I mean, for me, since I've kind of done both with my Bluetooth speaker and running through sharing my audio through my laptop, my con with that when I share it through my laptop is, as a teacher, we want to hear the music too, so it's really low, and then I'm factoring in like my camera and where I'm at in proximity to my laptop. So it's just been kind of like experimenting with different things, and this is definitely helping. So sorry, it's not really a question. It's more like just sharing my experience and just figuring this out. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, no, thanks for that. Yeah, it is that. It's a lot of testing, right? Like what's the best ways of doing things. Just another recommendation for you also is just in my opinion, the smaller the room, the better the sound. Okay, the least reflections and the least sound has to travel both by your voice and the music coming out of the speakers, right? And when that happens, there's going to be a lot of like jargling. So the closer that you are to the laptop, the better. It's unfortunate because a lot of the other dance styles, they can make do without seeing the feet.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Top Rock, you need to see the whole part. And it sucks.
Yeah.
We don't have a lot of room at home to sometimes get the whole picture, So it's unfortunate sometimes. But for me, like I'm actually gonna try this also in the smaller room at the Get Down. I'm hoping that'll help. But the smaller the room, the better. So if you have a choice on which room to go into or whatever, whether it's City Dance or even your own home, again, smaller the room, the better. But again, the video feed is just as important. So we, for Top Rock, you do want to see feet, right? Okay. I don't know if you guys have time, but that's pretty much the end of the demo. If you want to hang on for a little bit, I think Fred wants to kind of demo something here too as well for people that.
Yeah, I can actually show. Unfortunately, so I actually picked up a few pieces that I wanted to share with the group. So one of the mixers that Cliff recommended, it's the 502 USB by Behringer. I got one of those way ahead of time, even before the outbreak or whatever we call it, pandemic. And then I got one of the labs. Right now I have to buy an adapter for it, but I kind of wanted to show you. We can probably stop the recording and then do it.
Sure.
But I just wanted to show you guys that. But me and Cliff, and we're probably going to do another video and another kind of live session demonstrating the setups. And so I think if no one else has any other questions, we can, end the Zoom session. Appreciate everybody coming, and thanks Cliff, Jason, and Wacko.
Thank you guys.
just stay in touch with us, and we're definitely there. Me and Cliff added a mentor kind of button on our group, and now I think I added myself. Cliff is there. Hopefully, we'll have a few more people, and we can just help each other out, because I think we're going to be in here indoors for a while, and so whatever we can do to kind of like help each other out. The hard thing is sourcing this equipment, because right now eBay, Amazon is taking forever. So if people have a collective equipment, I don't mind letting people borrow stuff. We just got to make this happen, because my daughter has to take classes. You guys got to teach. People got to make money, and we just got to. It's all about community right now, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly.
Cool. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it, and we can stay on and chat a little bit more.